So one of the things that I absolutely love doing these days is going back and reading my journals um, from, 2 years ago, a year ago, even like 6 months ago, because it helps me to see how far I've come. And so if you're not journaling and you're not, writing things down that are happening or prayer requests or anything that, is going on in your life, I want to encourage you to do that because it really does give you more perspective of the path that you're on in that moment. I wanted to share what I wrote in my journal back in February. And the beginning of February, I had made some decisions for myself that I was, there are certain things in my life that no longer served me, and I was ready to move on with my life and be the best mom that I possibly could. I had decided I was living with my parents, and although alcohol wasn't like an issue for me at that moment, I just decided that I didn't want it anymore in my life. I didn't want to drink. And I did have, like in my past marriage, I did struggle with alcohol, and I had talked about it in my previous post that, I used it as a way to dissociate because I couldn't flee from the situation I was in. However, as soon as I got out of that marriage and in a relationship with somebody else, I didn't want the alcohol as much, and like I actually wanted to be present for that relationship because I enjoyed my time with that person, and I didn't feel like I needed to escape. And so anyways, the beginning of February, I had made the decision, that I wanted to just not drink, and my dad was in agreement with me. We were buying some ashwagandha drinks and finding other alternatives for us to relax. And so I wrote in my journal on February 8th that I can't seek wisdom while I'm dissociated. And that is like, I forgot that I wrote that. And that was like exactly what was going on in that moment. I knew that when I drank alcohol, even if it was just a couple beers or whatever, that I wasn't all there, and it was just an escape from reality. And I didn't need to escape anything at that point. I just needed to deal with the hurt and the pain that I've dealt with and heal from that and not dissociate. And so I was working really hard on not dissociating with my like regular dissociation and not dissociating through alcohol. And I had made that commitment to myself, and I was like, I'm not gonna dissociate anymore. And I also wrote on that day, setbacks are actually set-ups. And that is the truth. So fast forward, that was February 8th that I wrote that. I also wrote in there Proverbs 8. And Proverbs 8 is talking about Lady Wisdom. And in there it says, I am Lady Wisdom, and I live next to sanity. Knowledge and discretion live just down the street. And so that was that whole February 8th. That was what was going on with Danielle. And so I was on a good mission at that point. Well, 12 days later, I get arrested in the parking lot at Children's Hospital. They claimed I was intoxicated with alcohol. I was not. And it's been a really long process since then. And one of the things that I realized over the past 6 months is that, I've spoken on the truth will set you free. But first, the truth will shatter everything you thought you knew. And that's the truth right there. Like, the things that I had programmed in my mind, the belief systems I had, were needing to be completely shattered so that God could rebuild me from a fresh foundation. And so while it's been unpleasant that I've had to go through all of this court stuff with that, I'm not mad at it. And I would do it all over again in order to show that it can be done and to show the dangers of drinking of drinking and driving. And I'm not saying that that people shouldn't drink. Like, that's personal preference. Just for me personally, it was not it was a way for me to escape. It wasn't something that was a healthy thing for me. And so being in this place now, I can see how much the enemy, when I decided in that moment, I didn't want to drink anymore to dissociate. I didn't want to dissociate, period. And that night, on February 20th, my son had a cardiac issue that caused me to get arrested because I dissociated. And that was a setback for me. But later, to set me up for not having any alcohol in my system since February, the beginning of February, for me not having to turn to alcohol, for me not needing any bit of alcohol, and me being completely sober-minded, knowing that I can do that. Like, I never thought about going and just, I'm just going to cut out alcohol. If I went to, a wedding or a birthday party or something, of course I'd have a drink here and there. But I don't need to do that. That's not something that I need to do now, and I know that. And so as much as it sucked that I got arrested, it shifted my life for me. But it also was the enemy trying to take me back to my past. Not only did he know that he couldn't get me to dissociate because of my heart condition anymore, so what did he do? He used my son. He used my baby as a way to get at me to dissociate. He used my child. Like, we are all weak for our children, and any parent who goes through a moment where their child needs CPR, I can imagine that anybody would lose their marbles in that moment. But mine was extra heightened because I have a history of cardiac. I have issues. I have a history of PTSD from children at Children's Hospital. And so for me, it was just a reminder how when we try to push forward, sometimes situations are going to take us backwards. But it's all for God's purpose. God could always make it a positive thing for us if we look at the silver lining. And that's what I see it as like the opportunity to get completely sober-minded so that I can seek the proper wisdom, so that I can seek healing, so that I can seek the truth of who I am as a person without any alcohol or any substance to numb me. And in this process, it's been challenging. I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't been easy. I've had multiple anxiety attacks, multiple times that I thought I was gonna die because my anxiety was just crazy. However, I don't have that anymore. I can truly say that I am a completely different person than I was back in February, and that I am completely changed because of what God wanted to do through me, that he wanted to get me to this point so that he could further take me to where he wants me to go. But if I had this mindset that I still needed alcohol, or that, when times got tough, that I could just numb myself, that wasn't going to help me seek wisdom. That was going to destroy the wisdom that God was trying to put inside of me. And so reading that was just so encouraging because I set myself up for that. Like, I wrote it out. I declared what I wanted to happen, and we don't get to choose the way that God, takes us on those paths. I chose I didn't want to dissociate anymore. He chose to put me in a situation that was going to make sure that I didn't dissociate again. And I haven't dissociated since that night. Not once. Not through alcohol, not through mental. And I have been in the hospital multiple times with my child since then, and with myself. And not once have I dissociated. And so I feel like I have more wisdom now, and I have more knowledge, and I am changed because of the blood of Jesus, because God promises us that if we seek him, that he will do the change in us, but we also have to do the work. And so I just wanted to share that with anybody who might feel like they need a little bit of change in their life to get back on track.